I'll tell you what, Manchester United's 3-2 win over Ipswich was the definition of the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, that fight. Winning 3-2, Bruno, Yoro. The bad, Amorim's frustrations with how United are getting results, and Onana's shocker. And the ugly, Garnacho's attitude. Let me cover everything from that rollercoaster game. I'll try my best, and what we can take forward from it. That was 3 points for Man United against Ipswich, but it was a tough watch, and I've got lots to run through in this video. Sponsored by Surfshark. I'll mention that a little bit later in the video, but I want to speak about something that I think is extremely important from Amorim's post-match press conference and his comments on how United are playing, because it's probably the biggest bugbear of anybody who's a United fan right now. How United are playing. I'll speak about Garnacho, speak about Onana, speak about Dorgu. You can let me know what you think in the comments. But Amorim does not want Manchester United to play like this, all right? And I'm not just looking at the league and saying that he doesn't want us to be there in the league, although you can do that as well. I'm talking about the actual style, all right? After the game, he was saying that we've got to improve in every aspect, kind of sounding like David Moyes back in the day. But he also said this, which I think is hugely important. Here, he's talking about the fact that he is fighting. He's talking about the fact that it's hard for me to play like we did in the second half. And I feel like the players are sometimes more comfortable playing in a low block. Like, ladies and gents, I need to remind you and constantly remind you of this, which was his last game as Sporting manager. When Sporting beat City 4-1, what did they do? They sat in a back five. They soaked up the pressure and they blew City away on the counter-attack. But he said there, Manchester United cannot play as defensively as Sporting Lisbon. He said here, I feel the players are sometimes more comfortable playing in a low block. People are talking about how Ruben Amorim's not adjusting and adapting. Every time he tries to play a little bit more on the front foot, these players just don't do it. We play at 2 miles an hour. We play slow with no intensity, no confidence, until you drop into a low block. And United away at Liverpool, away at Arsenal with 10 men. And of course, it was a bit different because we played Ipswich and we had 10 men, so we kind of had to drop into a bit of shape. But that's not what Amorim wants. It's not the blueprint for the future. We are in survival mode, and it's why he keeps using that word, because as far as he sees it, these players are probably a bit more comfortable playing in a low block. And seeing as that's where our best team performances have come, I think he's probably right. Now, I want to speak about Onana next. There's something else I want to say. I want to say a big shout out to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Now, everybody will know that the channel got hacked. When it comes to protecting yourself online, I'm even more vigilant than I was before. So that's where Surfshark comes in. I'll be using Surfshark. It's a VPN which protects your identity online, keeps your data safe. And of course, you can use it to change your virtual location. So if I go away to San Sebastian for the game, then I'll be able to switch my location back to the UK, access YouTube Studio, actually get my job done. You know, it's quite important. But also, it will secure your online data. A VPN encrypts that, it masks your IP address, but it doesn't monitor or track your data. It just keeps you safe. And of course, you can travel the world virtually, connect to popular websites, easily access and unblock streaming platforms, change your virtual location, get Instagram music wherever you are. Now, in terms of what the offer is, if you use the link in the description, surfshark.com/UPTV, you can get 4 months extra free. And genuinely, I would encourage you to use Surfshark. I've used it before. I'll use it again in the future. It's helped to protect me, and it can help to protect you. So use the link in the description, and big up to Surfshark. Now, back to it. I need to speak about Onana, all right? Because I think Onana's lost me after that performance there. I've been pretty forgiving of Onana's mistakes and errors so far. More so than some United fans have been given. Those 2 errors yesterday, like, Dorgu was in such a comfortable position here. It must mean that Onana didn't communicate, didn't shout, didn't tell his defender, his teammate he was coming out, and then by the time he looked up, he passed it around him. And then that second one there, I was speaking on the live show this morning about it. I think you're all correct in saying that Onana should be following the ball rather than anticipating what could happen if the ball is moved in direction by Delap touching it. But it's not just those 2 errors. It's a catalogue of errors. It's a I wouldn't say it's an insurmountable amount of mistakes, but it's just that it's a pile-on. I said Onana was going to be transformative. I'm actually going to do a full video on this, going back, looking at what I said and the reasons as to why I said it. But I said it was going to be transformative because I thought we were going to get the Inter version of Onana. And like so many other players who were good before they came to the club, he's sort of disappeared within himself. I think United will be looking for a new goalkeeper. I don't know whether that's going to be able to happen this summer, but well, not on a sort of a top-level scale. I don't know how United approach it, but Onana, I think I'm done. Sorry. Now, next up, I want to speak about Garnacho, because that attitude from Garnacho in that game, not in that game, sorry, in the reaction to being substituted, because he was actually very good when he played. And that's why he was frustrated when he was taken off. Now, Amorim spoke about it after the game. He was saying that it's cold, it was wet. We've seen the video. You've seen the video as well of Garnacho sort of signaling to the bench, I'm going to go down the tunnel and change my shirt, right? Amorim explaining that, we scored 2 set pieces. That's why I kept Højlund and Xerxes on, because I wanted to keep our threat from the set pieces. And seeing as we scored a 3rd goal from a set piece, the only goals we scored in that game were set pieces, we're vindicated, as we were, because we won. Amorim said he's going to speak to Garnacho after, like, whatever happens in the follow-up to it. But for me, the thing that was most disappointing was this on Instagram. After that was about an hour after the game. No, not an hour after the game. An hour after he was substituted. Still, instead of congratulating his team, it's a photo of how disappointed he was to be substituted. And then about an hour ago, this morning, comes the important 3 points. Team, thumbs up. Obviously, either someone's had a go at him or he's just realised the errors of his own ways. But for Garnacho to just think about himself first, at a time when his team has just won 3-2, you're just looking in the wrong direction, lad. Get off social media. It is not helping you, your game, your relationship with United fans, or anything to do with your professional football career. It's hindering it. That's why he's sort of deactivated from Twitter, and he should do the same thing on Instagram. But that won't go down well with Amorim. And I'm interested to see what the reaction is going to be from Amorim, and also what the reaction from Garnacho is. It's not the first time. It probably won't be the last time. Now, next up, I want to speak about the importance of Bruno, all right? Anybody who's been a subscriber for long enough knows that I have defended and consistently and constantly defended Bruno, and I always will, even against Roy Keane, who went a bit nuts with Ian Wright. It feels like that's a separate video unto itself. I think it's actually really quite unfair from Roy Keane. And I think a lot of the criticism towards Bruno has been unfair. I think the fact that we are 15th and he is captain, therefore he is responsible for that, but where would we be without him, man? I dread to think how far we would have dropped if it wasn't Bruno dragging us back up. Yesterday, he was incredible. As far as a captain goes, in a 3-2 win over Ipswich, who are 17th in the league. I realise this. I'm not saying it's the measure of a Manchester United captain. But this man deserves to be in a United team that is cooking. Not in a United team that is in the swamps. I would love to see him in maybe if he's here. Will Bruno still be the same Bruno in 2 years' time? I don't quite know. But it's going to be a crying shame if Bruno Fernandes isn't a Manchester United player at a time where we're genuinely competing for the Premier League title, because he absolutely deserves it. And somebody who will learn from a big mistake that he made against Ipswich is, of course, Patrick Dorgu. And he'll learn from that red card. And it sucks because he's now going to be missing for the next 3 games, because he's been a real breath of fresh air. And you look at Dorgu on the left-hand side and you go, I can't wait to have that on the right-hand side. I can't wait to have that as a right centre-back. I can't wait to have that as another central midfielder. It's sort of a sort of a gateway, not a gateway, but sort of an indicator of what could happen if we have a squad full of players like Dorgu. It was a late challenge. It wasn't a late challenge. It was just a high challenge. Maybe it's just his foot skipped off the turf because it was wet. I don't know. But it was a red card. All right. He'll learn from it. He'll come back and we will struggle to replace him, because there is nobody else inside this squad who offers the same as him down the left. Now, what other talking points do you think we should be focusing on from that game? Or do you think I've run through them all? You let me know what you think. And as I said, a big shout out to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. Make sure you follow the link in the description and get yourself 4 months off. It's a cracking deal.